I think for us to believe in God, we must first believe God. And while the Bible doesn't speak directly to noodling, it does speak to fear, and I no doubt was definitely fearful about sticking my hand in a hole underwater to look for catfish. This is the iWorthy podcast. Let's go.
I can't believe he just said that.
Looking at the mirror and what I see, iWorthy. Haters can't stop what is meant to be, iWorthy. I get up every time I fall down, cause the world keeps spinning around. And after everything is said and done, best believe iWorthy.
Welcome to the iWorthy podcast. I am your host, Donald Fitzgill Jr. Several years ago, I entered a noodling contest in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, the Okie Noodling Tournament. It was perhaps the whitest thing I've ever done in my life. No offense, just facts. Now, some of you might have heard about noodling on the show Dirty Jobs. Noodling is where you go fishing primarily for flathead catfish with your bare hands. I was working for a securities brokerage at the time when one day a stock trader named John, who was from Oklahoma, said, "Have you guys ever heard of noodling? It's where people fish for catfish with their hands." None of us could believe this was actually a thing. I mean, why would anyone attempt to catch a fish with your bare hands? It sounded like something a bunch of college frat guys would come up with while drunk at a lake. So then John tells us not only is this a thing, but they have a contest every year in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma. And then he says the deadline to enter the contest was a few weeks ago. I think it's way too late for us to enter this year, but if I can contact the organizers of the tournament to get us in, would you guys do it? And about 4 or 5 of us, without thinking, just said yes. We just said yes. Now, I don't know if you ever agreed to do something that you didn't want to do only because you thought it wouldn't happen, but that's what I did. I didn't think it would happen. What kind of place still accepts entrance into a contest 2 weeks after the entry deadline? Why even have a deadline if you're going to accept people 2 weeks after the fact? I guess I expected more from people that catch fish with their hands. So they accept our entry and allowed us to enter the noodling contest. The contest was about a week away, and at this point, word started getting out around the company about what we were going to do. And of course, everyone was encouraging and wished us well, right? No, they did not. They started sending us YouTube clips of snakes eating fish in the river. They would come by our cubicles and just shake their heads like, "Nice knowing you guys." At least that's how I took it. I took it all as disrespect, and that motivated me to prepare as much as possible. The more we looked into this noodling thing, the more dangerous we realized that it was. You see, the catfish bury themselves to spawn in holes on the edge of lakes and rivers. When you reach your hand into the hole, the catfish, in an attempt to defend the hole, reaches out and bites you to defend itself. When it bites you, you grab it through its gills and pick it up out the water. This is the best case scenario. You see, one of the problems with this process is that humans are not the only species that love to eat catfish. So turtles and beavers and alligators all hide in these holes too, hoping for catfish to come along. So you can reach your hand in one of these holes with 5 fingers and pull out 3. Or you can reach your hand into one of these holes and the catfish grabs you and pulls you underwater and you drown. Why did we say yes? A couple days before the event, I went to the Bass Pro Shop that was down the street from where we worked. There was a huge aquarium there and it had lots of fish, including a flathead catfish. This was the first time I had seen one up close. I was told this fish was about 25 to 30 pounds, and looking at him up close, all of his weight was in his head. His head was so big. But since I'm big on visualizing, I wanted to picture him on my hand as I walked out of the water with this fish. But as I looked at him, all I could think was, please God, please don't let me be the first black man to be killed by a catfish. Please. So we head to Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, where everything was hole in the wall. For real, everything. But whatever. Who cares about a hole in the wall when you're about to go noodling? I feel like there was only one radio station, and seemingly every other song they played was Boys from Oklahoma by Cross Canadian Ragweed. So by the time we got to the lake, we all knew the lyrics to this song. Well, them boys from Oklahoma roll the joints all wrong. They're too damn skinny. They're way too long. Well, I ain't no holy roller, so I'll just use a bong. Them boys from Oklahoma roll the joints all wrong. We heard it over and over and over again until we loved it. Our first stop was Lake Texoma, and here we were walking around this lake looking for holes. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't looking very hard. In fact, I believe only John, the guy from Oklahoma, was seriously looking for holes. As we were out there, someone notices a boat in the distance and says, I think that's the game warden. Now, Lake Texoma straddles the Texas-Oklahoma border, and on one side, you don't need a fishing license to noodle, and on the other side, you did. Someone realized this, and the three of us that didn't have fishing licenses got back into the boat, while the two that had fishing licenses stayed out there. As fate would have it, that was the game warden, and he came down and asked for the licenses of both of the guys that were in the water. They showed him their fishing licenses, and all was well. And he made sure to tell those of us that didn't have licenses to stay in the boat and absolutely do not fish. Now, I don't know if you believe in answered prayer, but if this isn't a prayer being answered, I don't know what is. The game warden leaves, we sit back, crack open a beer, and start singing Boys from Oklahoma, and felt like we just won the lottery because we didn't lose any fingers. The two guys that were still out in the water continued to look for catfish, but thankfully found nothing. I can only imagine how we would have reacted if something actually grabbed a hold of us. At the end of the day, we headed to the main event. This is where the participants drove up with their fish in a barrel and presented the fish for everyone to see. This is done after the fish have been inspected because they have to make sure you didn't use a fishing pole and weigh the fish down because the largest fish wins. There were so many fish that were brought up. There was even a scuba division. I think the largest catfish in the non-scuba division was about 75 pounds, and the largest catfish in the scuba division was about 125 pounds. Someone went underwater and came out with a 125-pound catfish on their hand. That's pretty freaking amazing. After the presentation, they had a fish fry, and it was delicious. I ate so much catfish, I would go back again just to eat the catfish. At the end of the night, when everyone was full and not sober, it was time to select the noodling queen. Yes, there was a noodling queen, and there's a good chance she looked exactly as you're picturing her right now. We, of course, had to take a picture with the noodling queen, so it's floating out there somewhere on the internet, I'm sure. As the night was coming to an end, we were walking back to our car and hear the song Boys from Oklahoma one more time. We stayed long enough to finish the song, and the night was complete. Even in moments like this, going noodling, God was still with me. He never left my side and must have known that we, as in none of us, could actually handle mentally or physically catching a fish with our hands. I am, however, happy that I experienced this event. I am happy that I didn't let fear of the unknown stop me from experiencing life. I think for us to believe in God, we must first believe God. And while the Bible doesn't speak directly to noodling, it does speak to fear, and I no doubt was definitely fearful about sticking my hand in a hole underwater to look for catfish. Psalm 56:3 tells us, "When I am afraid, I put my trust in you." This was said by the mighty King David. You know, the one who slayed Goliath. He was afraid. So if a mighty warrior king can be afraid sometimes, so can I. You want to know something that you, I, and King David all have in common? We all serve the same God. Think about that. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. You can find the iWorthy podcast on all major platforms. For more Christian content, visit us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Meditate Word. Till next time.
looking at the mirror and what I see, I worthy. Haters can't stop what is meant to be. I worthy. I get up every time I fall down, cause the world keeps spinning around. And after everything is said and done, best believe I worthy.